She was one of the highest paid actresses and even greatest actresses in Hollywood. A great actress, singer, dancer, and even model of the silver screen, playing characters that relate to the modern woman and being defined as one of the greatest actresses of all time in the world. Working with the best and the greatest actors or actresses of all time, and even now being classed as an independent woman or playing a single woman character, winning multiple awards within her career, from the Golden Globes to the Academy Awards. This is Barbara Stanwyck, and this is her basic biography. Early life. Barbara Stanwyck was born on the 16th of July 1907 in New York City, USA. Her father was a builder and her mother was a homemaker, and they lived in the city. Her parents would live a working class lifestyle, and even raising her and her siblings during the 1910s. Her father would sadly pass away in the construction of the Panama Canal, which had affected her mother greatly, and this would also relate to her mother later on passing away from a car accident. This meant that she had to live with her older sister and even the rest of her siblings straight after their deaths. She would spend time living with her older sister and even her other siblings during the early life, even going to school in the Brooklyn area of New York. She would spend time working in odd jobs and even went whilst at school. She even had an interest of being an actress and wanted to become an actress in her later life. Her interest in acting whilst working would have been the chance of her taking time to knowing more about stage performances and even the cinema industry. This is whilst she was living in New York. Whilst working in odd jobs at an early age, she would even drop out of school, which would make her only now look into having a new career, but only in show business and even on stage, whilst performing on various stage performances on Broadway. Acting career. In the 1920s, she got into this show business successfully and would work with various stage performances and stage companies. She would have a stint with the Ziegfeld Follies and only stayed with them just to gain some experience as a stage performer rather than an actress, which was her main goal. She worked in various nightclubs to bars around the country whilst being a part of the Ziegfeld Follies, but built her skills with many instructors that had helped her improve her dancing skills on stage. When she grew older, she spent more time working on as a stage actress within the late 1920s by taking up minor roles for plays that were created by new writers to new stage book companies. Later on, she spent time working on various stage and even theatre performances that included dancing and singing based on her skills during the start of this decade. She would spend some time being on screen tests and even being interviewed for various movies, but these were not the sound pictures that were given to her to star in. But she would be successful in front of this silver screen in the silver screen by only playing as an extra in the silent film era. However, Hollywood was able to provide her a new contract, or provide her a contract, but only for sound films, which was a new technology for the cinema industry, where she was able to use her potential of being another lead actress, but one of the greatest due to her stage performances and even having acting credentials. Her first movie was called The Locked Door in 1929, where she was being able to play the first female lead, or being another female lead at this time of the sound film era. The 1930s would have Barbara Stanwyck playing the lead role again in more highly praised and highly criticized movies, part of the modern culture. She would mold her characters based on being a strong and independent woman in a male dominated world. This meant she would have to be working harder to become big in Hollywood. The silver screen was a great place to show that she could be one of the greatest actresses in cinema. She starred in the movie Night Nurse in 1931, which was a pre-war drama and that had a great actor like Clark Gable starring as the male lead opposite her great female lead. Dancer to Hollywood star. The whole decade of the 1930s would have a mix of genres that she would excel in, and make her excellent for each role she played as a different character that would define the independent woman. Even spending time being one of the first actresses to start on the silver screen as a lead, with a chance of working with elite actors and actresses in her first movies, where she was able to be part of various lists of great films and even career defining movies. Barbara Stanwyck managed to make her name and even a name of other actors and actresses part of these lists. She would be supported by William Holden and even supporting him in his new and even his first breakout movie and even his first appearance called in the movie Golden Boy in 1939, and would be ending the decade with this film being one of the greatest. The 1940s would be another decade that would make her become an icon in movies, that made her one of the greatest female leads of her generation, even defining other actresses to do the same, providing some heroic features in her characters during the Second World War, even providing some support from other actors such as Gary Cooper, the great Kirk Douglas, and even the consequential English actor David Niven, who were legends of the silver screen. She starred in Meet John Doe in 1941, making her and Gary Cooper an on-screen couple, and then starring in another movie called The Strange Love of Marva Ivers in 1946 with another great actor, and even having a great actor called Kirk Douglas, and even having a great relationship with each other on the silver screen. In the 1950s, she had been spending time in movies and on television, even sharing um, both lead screen time on each medium. She would star as a bigger actress on television as well, with major television shows that will be shown around the world. She had been able to perform on the silver screen by working with various stage performances and even taking time to appear on talk shows. She even had time to act in movies whilst being big in the 1950s. These movies were career defining again, but these films were based on real events. One in particular was called Titanic in 1953, where she would star with the young actor Robert Wagner, and even playing an older character rather than a young self. Another movie that she was able to to star in this particular decade of the 1950s was The Maverick Queen in 1956, where she would be able to play a female hero of the West. Personal life and final years. Barbara Stanwyck was married twice. Her first husband was Frank Fay, and their relationship lasted from 1928 to 1935. The couple would have one child together. Her second husband was the legendary actor Robert Taylor from 1939 to 1952. She had been in many relationships with different stars throughout Hollywood after splitting up with her second husband. She even spent time outside of Hollywood with various political parties and would support them with other actors and actresses at the time, even having views against communism in the film industry, with sometimes opposing different presidents who had different views towards her and even views against the Republican based on being a Republican herself. She won many awards for acting and even being nominated for the Academy Awards and winning the Academy Awards. The 1960s would have Barbara Stanwyck only playing less movies and being more on television. Whilst being on television, she would star in shows that were popular and would still go on to the 1980s doing the same before retiring. The shows that she was able to make popular or have a popular appearance in was in shows such as The Untouchables, Charlie's Angels, and even Dynasty, to name a few. Her final performance on film was The Night Walker in 1964, with her co-starring with her ex-husband Robert Taylor, and then her final and even her last television appearance was The Colbys in 1985. Legacy and death. Sadly, Barbara Stanwyck passed away on the 20th of January 1990 at the age of 82. This was due to heart failure, and she would have other health issues before passing away. However, she starred in many films based on westerns, and even sometimes her movies were shown around the world in multiple times and even multiple channels. This was after her death, and even during the time but she was a Hollywood actress. She was able to show that she could be a great actress and even a legend of the silver screen by talking to various actors and actresses of Hollywood, which were old, even new at the time, even being talked about in Hollywood today, by having her legacy becoming one of the best, and even being classed as one of the best and even the greatest actresses of all time, by providing a legacy that she could play the independent woman and being one of the first female heroes of the silver screen by breaking the mold for all females in Hollywood. She would even inspire new actresses and even sometimes actors nowadays to become heroes, and even using some kind of wittiness and kind of intelligence within the characters she played, and even the characters they played as well. This would be a legacy that would be talked about today in Hollywood and even talked about around the world in general. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't done so. My name is Suki Cookie, and thank you for watching.